Basically got this thing loaded down, snowboards, skis, all the manner of which is camping equipment. The F-150, baby, she's loaded down for max towing. LOL, we ain't towing shit. All right, we'll see y'all in freaking Vermont. Hello and welcome to another adventure with Sharpe Fly Fishing. I'm Nick and I'm glad you stopped by. Today we're in Vermont during winter in 2024, mid-February. This trip was more or less spontaneous and we were trying to get into some snow for cross-country skiing, snowboarding, ice fishing, and of course, fly fishing. So I was pumped for this trip to start and ready to hit the road on this near 1,000 mile journey. It was no big deal for us dudes. My friend and I spent over a week in this section of the country and got to explore many parks and streams like Stowe Mountain in Vermont to the fly fishing and ice fishing in the Adirondack Mountains in New York. So be sure to check out those videos when they get posted. But we stay in this tiny little town called Whitehall. Now you may not have ever heard of Whitehall, but it is quite an important town in our nation's history. It served as a town that built ships for wartime purposes in the late 1700s and was held the birthplace of the U.S. Navy because its enormous contribution to the founding of our nation, not to mention it's also recognized as the smallest state in New York. Nowadays, it's a town you wouldn't even notice driving through. The immense national history and memories here, just can't even imagine. Anyways, in Vermont, I was really looking for a challenge to up my fly fishing game. One of these days, we headed up to Vermont to check out a stream I'd heard about where some wild brook trout lived. So stay tuned, folks. We're here in beautiful Vermont 2024. Me and David. David's preparing himself over there. As you can tell, we got a little bit more snow here. We're actually catching this at a really good time where the river level is actually pretty good. So I think we should be able to get on some fish. I'm using a little egg imitation here, so I'm hoping that'll get me on some fish pretty quickly. So this is a little stream called Trout. So that's where we're fishing first in Vermont. First ever time I've ever fly fished here. So we'll see what happens. You know, I just don't know what to expect here. It's a real small stream. I'll give you all a little view. So here's the view of the stream. So that's the view of the stream. Looks like we got some pretty decent pockets. Definitely a little bit more frozen over in certain sections. But you know, we're just gonna see what we can get out here and hope for the best. But all right, guys, just stay tuned. Peace out. All right, what's up, guys? We got a little river patch over here. David and he's gonna record me. Hopefully not busting my ass down this, but yeah, this is what we gotta do to winter fly fish, right? So, truck's through some pretty deep snow here. A little steep, not too bad, David. Just get some stuff for yourself. Not too bad, David, not too bad. Alright, dude. This is freaking crazy, dude.
Thank God for gators.
Alright, dude. Just keep walking through.
Nice. Look at this. We're walking on the creek now.
Just keep going that way till we find a good run. And what you could do is break this. Yeah. First time fly fishing freaking winter like this. It's pretty good. Should I test it out?
I say so.
Gosh, if that was one good run right there, David. There's some fish down there for sure.
It's a lot easier to get to the good part of the stream.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just walk across.
That's
If you dare.
right. I'm from the Great Smoky Mountains area, and winter fly fishing, let alone any winter sport in North Carolina, doesn't really exist anymore as we don't get the snowfall we used to. Whether climate change or not, the fact is the weather just does not get as formidable as in years past. This place did. It required the most of David and myself and our gear, as I needed to wear shoe spikes and gaiters to wade, not through water, but through a foot or so of snow to get to the spots. The weather was cold, but no wind, so it was manageable. Maybe 30 degrees at the peak of the day. Headgear was essential to keep your body warm, but more than warm enough if you kept yourself moving. I truly had zero expectations in this frozen over river and knew the best way to learn was trial and error. And it took a few times and errors for me to realize these trout were going to be hung up in the pools and well away from any current. So I stuck to those areas and tried to see what would bite. These pools were almost from a dream, just how perfect and round the lines were at each pool. I have never seen a stream flow like that in winter, and I gotta tell you, it was a cool place to be fly fishing. Only thing is it requires you to be very smart and ensure you understand the risk you're taking getting that close to a frozen over river. I don't take very many falls, but you'll soon see I did take a fall, and I'm just fortunate it didn't end up worse than it did. Basically me soaking wet and cold as hell. So I'm glad I stayed dry throughout this adventure in Vermont. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching until this point and realize I'm having the time of my life out there. So thank you so much for your support, and stay tuned, folks. I was going for wild brook trout in this stream, and it didn't take too long to finally get a bite on the line. I was using a barbless hook, and that may have been my Achilles heel as far as landing this beautiful wild brook trout. They flop around endlessly until they end up back in the stream where they belong. Still cool to get a couple nice bites, and realized I may should have gone with a barbed hook, but as many of you know, I am not a fan of barbed hooks because I've seen far too many trout mouths that have been somewhat disabled by barbed hooks just being pulled out. And these delicate fish deserve the best because these trout endure more in one day than most people ever do. So I try to be on the side of compassion and care when it comes to a wild trout. I went upstream thinking I'd spooked all the fish in that pool that were there. I looked for an identical pool and found one a bit larger to fly fish. I hooked into a number of other wild trout, but had a tough time landing. And then, trying to get into another spot almost landed me in the DA category. Not district attorney, that's the dumbass category. True DA status, folks. So I took a few more tries at landing a wild brook trout, but soon realized my hands were getting far too cold from direct exposure to these cold elements. So it was time to head back for a warm meal and reminisce on another beautiful day in the stream. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned a little bit more about winter fly fishing. I hope you get out there and get you some. Peace out.